How's it going, everyone? This is Soul Singed here, and finally getting around to making a video giving my thoughts on the 2022 XXL freshman class. Now, there are quite a few artists on this list that I weren't super familiar with, so I went out and listened to a few songs from each artist to kind of get a general idea on what they're about. That's also why I made that little compilation video to kind of showcase their music. A lot of people are saying this list is bad, which is nothing unusual. Every single year people say that. And then, after a few years, people will either change their mind or not. Back in 2016, when it first came out, everyone was clowning that list. Everyone said that was the worst list. Now it's regarded as one of the best. Same with 2019, same with 2020. 2021's was kind of mid, not gonna lie. Really, currently, the only artist from that class that's still being relevantly talked about outside of their fan bases is Coi Leray. Though, granted, it's all negative press, it's something. But yeah, I feel like this list, I feel like Double XL did okay, considering where Double XL is at currently, considering where hip hop is at currently, because it's getting harder and harder to see rappers definitively blow up. It is definitely good to see that they didn't put any super humongous artists on the list, because it's always supposed to be a way to show like upcoming rappers, like, kind of giving them the showcase before they blow up, saying, hey, these guys are next up. But in hip hop right now, we're seeing a lot of artists either having one song blow up and then immediately fading out, or just slowly on the come up, like lacking a definitive blow up song. They're just slowly grinding their way up. And that's what most of the artists on here are. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to go over each of the 12 freshmen and give my overall thoughts on them. So first up, we got Babytron. I believe he was the 10th, the voted freshman, which is insane considering he is the smallest artist on this list, monthly listeners wise. And I believe he was voted because Babytron has one of those very dedicated, loyal, vocal fan bases. Like, I've been hearing about Babytron all over the place, and I hadn't listened to a single one of his songs. Definitely think he deserves to be on the list. Definitely see him doing some pretty big things. He does come across as a little gimmicky to me, so I'm not sure how long he's going to last. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of his music. Definitely think he is a talented artist. I just personally don't get much enjoyment. I really don't like his flows, to be honest. Which, again, that's just personal preference. I'm not hating on the guy. Next up, we have Cochise. Cochise, I was actually really glad made the list. I actually predicted him for the 2021 list, because that's around the time Hatchback blew up. But he's been steadily dropping songs, getting attention, getting buzz. And a lot of people have compared him to Playboi Carti, specifically Die-Lit era Playboi Carti. But to me, his baby voice is more smooth and a little bit more of a melodic touch to it. And he has some pretty slick flows. And it blends with his production choices very nice. And he also produces his own beats a lot, so that's also pretty impressive. Not a lot of artists do that. So yeah, pretty big fan of Cochise. Definitely glad to see him on the list. Next is Saucy Santana. He's every year Double XL has one or two really left field choices, like just way out of the blue choices, and that's Saucy Santana. I'm not sure how big Saucy Santana actually is. I know he's getting a lot of media push and a lot of industry push, but outside of that, I don't know how big he actually is. Like, if he were to lose that, does he have a substantial enough fan base to carry him? Because I've listened to a couple of his songs. The man can rap, but it seems like he's... And, I could just be misreading his personality, but he seems to be kind of playing on the gimmick of him being a gay rapper. kind of like what Lil Nas X was doing, but Lil Nas X was doing it in a trolling way, whereas Saucy Santana is kind of making that his whole identity. I may be completely wrong about that. I'm not trying to hate on the guy. He definitely seems to be like a good person. He definitely seems to have a really energetic personality. So even though I'm personally not into his music that much, um, he'll definitely bring a lot of entertaining personality to the freshman list. Next up is Babyface Ray. He's one that I was completely unfamiliar with. Don't know much about him. Listened to a couple of his tracks. They're all right. Seems to be putting out music like crazy, so he's definitely has a drive going, but his music just didn't really do anything for me. So yeah. Kin the Man is one of the female rappers. There's actually I don't know any of the female rappers that were chosen for this list. I had, I believe, three or four that I had on my prediction list that I were pretty confident were going to be on it, and none of them made the list. Speaking of which, I plan on making a third video going over some of the artists that were left out or not chosen or whatever. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I will be talking about Yeet, these female rappers, and some other people that I feel like could have made the list but didn't. But yeah, had no clue who Kin the Man was. Looked into her music. She seems to be a part of the hot girl wave, but definitely seems to be much more in your face about it and much more brash. Kind of bridging the line between the hot girl rappers and the female rappers like Big Clit, Lil Marico, Rico Nasty. She seems to be kind of bridging that gap a little bit. So it's interesting to see them choose someone like that. Sofago, I definitely think he deserves to be on the list. Listen to some of his music. He's pretty good. He's part of the whole rage scene, which when I made my prediction, I thought they would go more heavy. I thought they'd have quite a few rage rappers. I was thinking maybe SSG Kobe, possibly Jaleel. So I was definitely thinking more rage artists would be on here, but we got Sofago. That's pretty good. Big Scar and Big 30 are Memphis rappers, coming out of like the Memphis gang rap scene or drill scene. I'm not really familiar with it. The same kind of stuff Pooh Shiesty was doing. Not really a fan of it. It's its own thing. It's kind of like the New York drill scene. It's just music. It's just not for me. Speaking of which, that is kind of weird. There was not a single New York drill artist, which I find weird, but I get it, and I will go more in depth on that little can of worms in that third video. Next up is Casey. Had zero clue who Casey was before the freshman list, and I looked into some of his music, and I'm really liking what I'm hearing from this guy. He seems to have some interesting interesting deliveries, really nice singing voice, some really phenomenal production, and just overall pretty original. Apparently, I've heard some people say he's an industry plant, that he's kind of like Kanye West protege or something. And if that's the case, I am rather impressed that we're getting a truly someone with true talent and originality, whether just, copy pasted or someone with no talent just trying to survive on industry push. So yeah, really looking forward to what Casey does in the future. Next up is Doechii. Doechii is kind of bridges between hot girl rap and pop. I don't like her music. She kind of comes across as being weird for the sake of being weird. And it's like I heard one song, I can't remember the name, that I thought was alright, that I might listen to. And then like a couple other songs that I'm just like, no. No. So she might be the kind of artist where I'd occasionally listen to a song here and there, but for the most part, I'm probably not going to be bumping her music. Callie, I actually did know about. It wasn't familiar with her music, but I heard her name floating around a lot. Out of the female rappers we have this year, she's definitely my favorite of the three. She has she chooses some really good beats and has kind of a low key style of rapping on them, similar to what BIA does. And I'm really liking what I've heard from her, so I'll definitely looking forward to seeing what she does in the future. And then finally, we have Nardo Wick, arguably the biggest artist on this freshman list. It's him, Sofago, and Cochise. I feel like are the biggest. And yeah, he has a super unique voice. What music I've heard from him, I'm digging. So yeah, I think he's definitely deserves it, and he's definitely next up in the game. He kind of reminds me of 21 Savage a little bit with that lazy yet threatening delivery, I guess is a way to put it. It's kind of hard to describe, but I like what he's doing, and I can't wait to see more of it. So yeah, overall, I think the freshman class is okay.